Welcome to Confessions of a Parent Coach. I'm Coach, a mother of four, and potty talker, Ann Kaplan. This is the podcast where I confess something from my own parenting and coaching life, teach a lesson around it, and answer your questions. Even we parenting experts are far from perfect, and the real magic happens when we get down with all that imperfection. We get into the gritty side of parenting here, so earbud up and dive in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the podcast. I hope all of you in listener land are doing well and having a good day. Today, what I want to really talk about is this topic that is harsh but fair. And I will say that if you like my style, every time I talk to you guys, like on a consultation or a discovery call, I hear almost always one of the questions I always ask is, why me? What makes you think that I might be the right person to help you? And the answer I most frequently get is, you're a straight shooter, or you don't mess around, or you tell it like it is, or you're really blunt and direct. So that is very true. That is absolutely very true about me. And I'm so lucky that so many of you enjoy that about me, because otherwise I would be a very lonely person on this planet. So today's podcast topic is no exception. Absolutely fits into that whole harsh but fair, loving but direct kind of wheelhouse. And that is the concept, or the message that I want to send you today is, it's not about you. Which I think as parents, we often feel that way, that we think anyways, that we're totally sacrificing for our kids, that we are putting our kids first, that we're making decisions that are in their best interest. So it might feel kind of harsh to hear somebody say, like, it's not about you, because I would completely understand if you're out there thinking, I know it's not about me. It hasn't been about me for exactly the age of my kid, years. It hasn't been about me for 18 years, right? But the truth is that actually most of us, including myself included, and you're about to hear my confessional, most of us actually do make most things about us, including parenting. Even the sacrifices that we make for our kids, we make about us. Even when we're trying to think about what's in their best interest, or what would serve them best, we're still thinking about us at the bottom line. I remember back in college taking a psychology class, or might have been a socioanthropology class, about and one of the topics we talked about was, like, is altruism real? Like, are people actually altruistic? That is a great conversation to have over a game of euchre and a couple of beers in college, let me tell you. But it's not about you. Parenting, it's not about you, and we make it about us. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. So my confession for you, many of you know all these fun stories about what happened with our oldest kiddo when he was a freshman in high school. He was really struggling. We don't need to go into all the details, because everyone's probably bored of hearing the story right now, to be honest. But he was doing really poorly. All of the things we're afraid about happening with our kids was happening to Elijah: drugs, sex, poor grades, crime, everything. It was horrible. And obviously we were trying our absolute best to help him. He was seeing a therapist. We got him all the supports in terms of, like, special supports at school, and we were working with the care management company and all of these things. And my confession to you is, well, ultimately, even with all of those supports in place and all of us doing so much to support him, eventually he had to really leave the house and go and be in a therapeutic program for him to actually do the healing he needed and get where he needed to go and be safe in the process. So ultimately, he wound up going away to wilderness therapy and then to a therapeutic treatment program. My confession for you is that multiple professionals told me that that was probably what Elijah needed for almost a year before I actually sent him. And I absolutely 100% was making it about me. What I would say when people would say, like, for example, the people when we contracted with the care management team, the person who was like coming up with our care plan said, why not send him to wilderness? And what I said to her, which is what I said to everybody else, is, Elijah is so sensitive. I'm afraid that he will, you know, maybe blame us or feel like we rejected him and we sent him away because we didn't want him around anymore, that it might actually like break him for us to send him. And that, I didn't want to hurt him further because he was already in so much pain. That's what I said. What I said to my more like inner confidants, like my therapist or my husband or whatever, was I feel like sending him away means that I didn't do the right, like I couldn't do whatever it is that he needed. I couldn't give it to him at home, and that he was going to hate me forever. And when things were starting to come to a head, it was around the holidays, and I was like, and I'll be devastated if he's gone over the holidays. I mean, those were my more honest, true reasons, was basically like, I will be devastated if I have to send him away. And I was reminded of that recently in a conversation that was going on in my coaching group. So any of you, you've all heard me talk about the group before. If you're curious about it, go check it out. And it's super easy to find information about it. It's just at my website, AnnCaplanParentCoach.com/group. Really easy to remember. You probably don't even need to write that down. If you're listening to me while you're driving, you probably could still remember it later. It's just my website/group. And you can learn all about the group there. And there's this incredible mom who joined a couple of months ago who was sharing some struggles and concerns that she has about her son, who's about the same age that my son was, when he had to get support and leave the house and everything. And she is starting to kind of grapple with the idea that he might do best if he were to get that kind of care outside of the house. And it's very upsetting for her. Of course, I've yet to support a family going through this transition and have them not be upset about it, even though weirdly on the other side of all of that stuff, sending Elijah to wilderness therapy was like one of the things I'm the most proud of doing as a mom. But if you that vantage point, that mindset is not available to you when you're contemplating doing it. I totally understand. And I was exactly the same way as you just heard in my confession. But in our conversation in the group, this mom said, I just don't want to send him away right now because it would crush me not to have him home for the holidays. And this, if you work with me, you're going to experience all of this directness, all of this clarity and not messing around and no BS. You're going to experience all of that, but you're also going to experience my like deep love for you, compassion for you, passion for the work that we're doing, and so much empathy and understanding. And because, over time we've created that dynamic, I was able to say to this mom in a way that she received with the energy that came with it and the intention behind it. I was able to say to her, when she said it would crush me for him not to be here over the holidays, I said, it's not about you. If it crushes you, that's your work. If you know in your heart of hearts that this is what your son needs to heal and get ready and get better and grow and get beyond this chapter of his life, and you're denying it to him because you don't want to ruin the holidays, come on, right? Well, of course, we don't think about it that way when we're in the moment. We're just thinking about all the things that I said, right? Like, I don't want my son and as soon as I said that, of course, this mom was like, well, also it would crush him to miss out on the holidays. And it's like, yeah, of course. But it's not about that. It's not about us. So I really want to not just kind of give you this little verbal bitch slap of like, hey, it's not about you. Stop being so selfish. That's not what today's podcast is about. What it's about is understanding that there's another way available to think about this stuff. There's another way to feel about it that is so foreign to most of us. And even I can say for myself, I would say I spend maybe 80% of my time in this mindset, but there's still absolutely times where it's not accessible to me. or even might feel foreign to me. But there is a way for us to think about our job as parents, our relationship with our children, and even the really tough, devastating moments with our kids that is not about ourselves. And I want you to just imagine being so secure and grounded in yourself, believing in yourself, believing in your child, even when your child is totally off the rails, believing even in the world outside of you and your child, the universe, your support system, your community, the rest of your family, the people that you might pay to be supportive of you, and even things beyond people, just like the world, the universe, whatever you want to say about that. I want you to imagine being so secure in that belief, in your belief in yourself, your child, and the world around you, that you really don't need the things you think you need right now. You don't need to spend the holidays together. It's okay to spend the holidays apart. That doesn't mean it's not going to be sad or you're not going to be bummed out, but that fear of being bummed out, that need that you are feeling to be together in this example with this mom, is not so strong that it overshadows what's right and good and needed for your kid. So I want you to imagine having that security in yourself and in your child and in the world around you, and think about how things would change if you felt that way. So I'll give you another example from the group. Mom was talking about how she is reticent to, she was saying, like, I know I need to give my kid a consequence about this thing. But I decided to give him a heads up that he was going to get the consequence, because in the past, when I've just given him a consequence and he didn't see it coming, he just like loses his mind and he's so mean and he says all these terrible things to me. So instead, I gave him this heads up that I was going to give him the consequence. Well, then we just wound up having a big fight before school instead of him discovering the consequence after school. And we had this whole conversation about, like, that all happened that way because you were afraid of him being upset, of the backlash of you giving him the consequence. But imagine if you were so secure and grounded in yourself, so secure and grounded in belief of your son, of your family, of the world around you, and of yourself, that him being upset, that backlash isn't scary anymore. It can happen and you don't have to avoid it. Another area where I feel like this security changes everything is just in even getting help at all. You might be surprised to hear, or you might not be surprised. This might be you out there. And if it is, you are very normal. How many parents I talk to who have decided to set up a discovery call with me, they're starting to feel like they might want to have help and they don't want to figure this stuff out alone anymore. But the thing that's holding them back is this feeling of shame that they even might want help at all. Like this feeling like, I'm supposed to have this figured. I'm not supposed to need help. Nobody else has help. I'm supposed to just know how to do this on my own or be able to figure it out on my own. And we hold ourselves back from getting the help that we need. But imagine if you were so rock solid, confident that, I am going to figure this out. My kid is a good person and is going to land on his feet. And we have the ability to overcome this challenge. Now, getting help from somebody isn't like throwing in the towel, like how I was telling myself it was. If I send Elijah away, it means that I failed as a mom. I didn't give him what he needed at home. No, me sending him away wasn't a failure. It was a success. It was me realizing, like, okay, we have to do something about this and what we need to do, how we're going to get through this. I have absolute confidence we're going to get through this. And how we're going to get through this is by asking for help, resourcing the things that are available to us. It's kind of like, I want to make a cake, but I don't actually know how to make a cake. Do you just tell yourself that you're not allowed to get a recipe book and learn how to make a cake? Or do you decide, I think the best way for me to learn how to make a cake is to get a recipe book? And that's okay. That's not a failure as a chef that you needed to look at a recipe. It's not failure as parents when we resource all of these supports that are available to us so that we can actually level up. And I think also this feeling that when we make it about us, we are creating these dynamics of codependency with our kids that are super unhealthy. I really want you to imagine if you felt that sense of belief in yourself, in your ability, not just to do it without any support, but in your ability to figure stuff out. And by the way, asking for help and educating yourself is part of figuring stuff out. If you had that ability or that belief that you have the ability to figure things out, if you had that belief in your kid, imagine that sense of security. And all of a sudden, you stop making things about you because nothing needs to be about you. You already got you. You already have taken care of your own needs. You don't need anything from the world around you the way that it feels like we do when we are in this place of I can't survive Christmas without my kid. Or I know my kid needs this thing, but I'm going to give you one last example because once you start to see this, you will see it everywhere. And I bet you're going to start to see it in your parenting, even in little things like I need you to go to bed, or I need you to brush your teeth, or what if my kid, doesn't invite so and so to his birthday party? Well, that would be really upset. Like, well, it's not about you. It's not about how embarrassed you are in social situations because of your kid's behavior. It's not about any of that stuff. It's really for your kid. So, the last example I'll give you is a client of mine who has been sort of dancing around and discovering incrementally over the last couple of years that probably her child is a little bit neurodivergent and would benefit from having some helpful interventions in place in the school system, maybe even medicine. We don't know yet, but she's coming to grips with the fact that this is what her kid needs. And as we're talking about it, she had this amazing insight into herself of like, I don't want to do a lot of the things that this extra work and this extra like Herculean change and this massive change that's going to happen to our family once we discover whatever it is that we're going to discover. And I don't know how to support a kid who has these challenges. And all of that is when the tears start to flow. And it's because she's realizing like, this is a really big deal for me. And that's totally fair. So that's the last piece. Remember I said it's like the 1-2 punch. It's the real direct bluntness, but with this love and compassion. It's not about you, but it's okay that it feels like it's about you. It's okay that we are scared of the stuff that's coming our way. It's okay if some of the reasons why we don't want to do things are us. Some of the reason why I don't want to send my kid away is because I don't want to be devastated and depressed on Christmas. Some of the reason why I don't want to maybe get my kid tested is because I don't want to have to figure out like how to mom a kid that has all of these, diagnoses. Some of the reason why I don't, you know, uh, want to give my kid this consequence is because I don't want to experience how it is when he calls me horrible names and is super cruel to me. That's totally fair. It really makes perfect sense that you feel that way and you get it. Working with me or doing this work doesn't mean you're not allowed to have those feelings or motivations going on behind the scenes at all. It means that you start to have awareness about it and you start to do this amazing twofold thing, which is give yourself permission to feel all of those ways and still make the decision for your child that might lead you to feeling those ways. It's okay for you to feel super, super devastated, but also in your highest self, and this is what needs to happen. I don't want to get my kid tested, and that's what needs to happen. I don't want to send my kid away, and that's what needs to happen. I don't want to consequence my child, and that's what needs to happen. Those two things are allowed to exist. And that's what I mean when I ask you to imagine feeling so secure in yourself. It's not that you're not going to feel those negative emotions. It's that you don't have to be afraid of those negative emotions anymore. And you don't have to experience them alone. You can get help. You can have support. You can have me in your corner. You can have your family in your corner. All of these things. This is not something that we're meant to go through it alone. You're not supposed to just figure out how to bake a cake with no recipe book. You're allowed to educate yourself and get support and guidance. And that's what I'm here for. So if this is all resonating with you, please give yourself permission to get help, to get that recipe book. consider setting up one of those free discovery calls you hear me talking about all the time. Spend some time with me telling me all about your story and what you need and what you want, and let's figure out your path to better. And if it is me being with you on that path, that will be amazing. I can't wait to talk to you all again. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.
The episode is over, but there's more waiting for you. You can grab my free workbook, Getting Kids to Listen the First Time, that walks you through the fundamental principles I teach all of my clients and applies them to this very universal parenting challenge. So if you're sick of repeating yourself all day long or just want to learn more about my style, you'll definitely want to go to bit.ly/kidswholisten. And if you're ready to work with me, let's meet. Set up a free call at bit.ly/Kaplan call, and let's create an action plan that gets you exactly where you want to go. And of course, links to all this goodness are in the show notes. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.